Residents of Gituamba in Gatundu North are still in shock over how a Lone Ranger murder suspect managed to abduct girls, sexually assault them before killing them. The suspected serial killer, Samuel Oidaka Nganga, has since been arrested and arraigned over the murders. Franklin Ola reports.
Dark Echoes 254.
On arrival at Gituamba in Gatundu North, we meet with Penina Wanjiku, a distraught mother to a young girl, Rosemary Njeri, who went missing on 15th March before her body was discovered 3 days later. In her lowest moment, the mother of three can't hold her tears as she narrates how her firstborn child met her untimely death in her prime life. She says Rosemary went missing moments after visiting her friend in Thika. Efforts to trace the young girl proved futile, only for the family to be notified that the girl's body was lying at General Cargo Mortuary in Thika.
Rosemary Njeri Ndekei was 22 years old, young in the way that still carries unfinished plans and half-written dreams. On Saturday, March 15, 2025, she left her boyfriend's house in Ruiru as she had done many times before. There was nothing unusual about the afternoon, nothing that signaled it will be the last ordinary moment of her life. She told him she was heading towards Ruiru bypass to meet a friend named Eda before returning home to Ngorongo village in Kiambu County. It was a simple plan, the kind young people make every day without fear. She dressed casually, bell-bottom ragged jeans, a sky blue top, a long black jacket, and white sneakers, and stepped out, unaware she was walking into a trap. Hours passed and the expected message never came. Rosemary had a habit of confirming when she arrived safely, especially when traveling between towns. That message did not arrive. Her phone rang unanswered, then stopped ringing altogether. Calls went straight to voicemail. Text remained unread. As evening folded into night, concern crept in quietly. Her boyfriend tried again and again to reach her, pacing with a kind of restlessness that came when instincts start whispering that something is wrong. By the next day, fear had fully taken shape. He traveled to her parents' home in Ngorongo, hoping, praying that she had arrived safely and simply forgotten to call. She had not. Together, the family went to report her missing, only to be told that they needed to wait 24 hours before a formal missing person declaration could be processed. It was a procedural response, routine and detached, but for the people who loved Rosemary, every minute felt like a betrayal of urgency. Unbeknownst to them, Rosemary was already dead. 2 days after she vanished, workers at a coffee plantation in Karibaribi area near Thika town noticed something disturbing amid the neat rows of coffee bushes. What first appeared to be discarded clothing quickly revealed itself to be something far worse. A young woman's body lay abandoned in the plantation, hidden just enough to delay discovery but not enough to erase the truth. Police were called. The area was sealed. Rosemary Njeri Ndekei's life had ended violently, far from where she was supposed to be.
Hugemjua alikuwa mweusi kabisa, sasa ikasemekana ati ni juu. Suspectiwa aliuliwa kama Saturday. So alikuwa amekaa Saturday na Sunday na Monday. So mwili yake ilikuwa imefura.
The family was told Rosemary's body had been picked from a coffee plantation within Thika. An autopsy conducted on the body confirming their fears that the 20-year-old had been sexually assaulted before her killer took her life. The suspect also stole from her a mobile phone and other valuables.
Nakuja home, so nilikuwa napata kama amepika, amefanya kila kitu. Sasa mimi nikukuja. Na sasa nikikumbuka hiyo mambo, unaona sasa life imechange kabisa.
Her body was transferred to General Cargo Mortuary for identification and postmortem examination. When her family confirmed it was her, the finality landed like a physical blow. The government pathologist's findings were grim and ambiguous. Rosemary had suffered a non-consensual sexual attack. She had been manually strangled. She had sustained blunt force trauma to the head. These were not the marks of an accident or crime of impulse. It was deliberate, personal, and brutal. As word of Rosemary's death spread through Korongo village and surrounding areas, shock turned into anger. Residents spoke of fear of daughters who could no longer walk freely, or a community that suddenly felt unsafe in daylight. Yet even as grief settled in, no one imagined that this was only the beginning.
In yet another murder, the suspected serial killer, Samuel Waithaka Ng'ang'a, is said to have killed a 19-year-old girl who was his neighbor. The suspect is said to have ambushed Hellen Wambui as she left a shopping center near her home. He forcefully took hostage of the girl and forced her into this bush, where he is said to have sexually assaulted Hellen, strangled her to death and buried her body in the thicket. As Wambui's family was searching for her, they met the suspect as he left the crime scene unperturbed. A day later, the family took their search at the crime scene only to discover the unthinkable. Wambui's body was discovered here.
Less than 2 weeks later, the same silence returned, this time to another home. Hellen Wambui Ndung'u was a 19 years old, a student at Gituamba Vocational Training College, known by neighbors as quiet, reserved, and deeply respectful. On March 30th, 2025, her mother sent her to Ngorongo Trading Center to buy groceries for their evening meal. It was early evening around 5 p.m., a time when the village was still alive with movements. Hellen left home carrying out an ordinary errand, one she had done countless times before. She never came back. As darkness fell, worry turned frantic. Calls went unanswered. Friends hadn't seen her. The path she usually took offered no answers. For 2 agonizing days, her family searched, clinging to the fragile hope that she would walk through the door with an explanation that made everything make sense again. Instead, her body was found in a nearby bush, partially buried in soil, discarded like something unwanted. Neighbors identified her. There were no obvious external injuries, but the truth would later emerge with devastating clarity. Hellen, like Rosemary, had been subjected to a non-consensual sexual attack. She had been strangled. She had been killed. What shattered the community even further was the realization that Hellen was Rosemary's neighbor. The 2 young women lived within the same area, walked the same paths, even breathed the same air. The similarities were impossible to ignore. 2 disappearances and 2 bodies and 2 coffee plantations. 2 young women erased within a week of each other. This time, detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation did not treat the case as isolated. The Homicide Directorate joined forces with officers based in Thika, launching a meticulous investigation grounded in forensic evidence, witness accounts, and behavioral analysis. Patterns began to surface. Both victims had been intercepted along isolated routes. Both have been dragged into coffee plantation, places familiar to locals, quiet, concealed, and terrifyingly effective as crime scenes. Both had been sexually assaulted and murdered. The geography was consistent, the method was consistent, the intent was unmistakable. The investigation took a decisive turn when detectives discovered that Rosemary's phone was still active days after her death. Someone was using it. Through IMA tracking, police traced the phone's activity to Ngorongo. The signal pointed back not to a stranger passing through, but to someone rooted in the community. On April 14, 2025, detectives moved in and arrested a man in the dry area of Ngorongo. His name was Samuel King'ara Kimani, also known to locals as Sam Kamau. The arrest sent shockwaves through the village. Samuel was not an outsider. He was a neighbor, a familiar face, a man people greeted, spoke to, and trusted. The revelations that followed were almost unbearable. After killing Rosemary, Samuel had kept her phone and used it as his own. After killing Hellen, he had dumped her phone into a pit latrine. When questioned, he led police to the exact location. Local youth assisted officers in retrieving the device, pulling the truth out of filth and denial. But the most disturbing detail had nothing to do with the phones. Samuel had attended both funerals. He had helped dig both graves. Photographs later resurfaced showing him standing at Hellen's graveside, throwing soil into the grave alongside grieving family members, performing the rituals of mourning for a woman he had murdered. Hellen's mother would later recount how he participated eagerly in burial preparations, appearing devoted, supportive, indistinguishable from any other neighbor offering condolences. When she learned the truth, the shock was so severe that one neighbor fainted upon hearing his confession. In interviews after his arrest, Hellen's mother revealed chilling encounters that now felt like warnings written in hindsight. Days before her daughter's death, she and Hellen had run into Samuel, who proudly showed them a new phone. At the time, it meant nothing. After his arrest, the realization struck like lightning. It had been Rosemary's phone. Hellen, standing beside her mother, had unknowingly been next. According to statements gathered during the investigation, Samuel admitted to both killings. He claimed that both women had rejected his romantic advances. There was no remorse in his account, no sign of empathy, only justification. He confessed to subjecting them to non-consensual sexual attacks and killing them afterwards, treating their lives as disposable consequences of his wounded ego. On April 16, 2025, Samuel King'ara Kimani was arraigned in court. Detectives successfully obtained custodial orders to hold him as investigations continued, citing the severity of the crimes, the pattern of behavior, and the risk he posed to the public. Authorities stated that forensics and witness evidence strongly linked him to both murders and that he was believed to have acted alone.
Investigators began probing details into the incidences. This would lead them to Ngorongo, where Samuel was arrested. In his house, several valuables identified as those of his victims were recovered.
Tulikuwa na uoga, hatukuwa tunajua mwenye alimuua Njeri ni nini anafuata ama kama ametosheka.
Ama amefanya hivyo akiwa peke yake, na huyo msichana mwingine hata alikuwa peke yake, huyo Rosemary. Sasa zinaonekana ni kitu anafanyanga. Mimi siwezi nikamsemehea hata kidogo.
Police took him into custody and presented him in court on a miscellaneous application, where it was ordered he be detained for 14 days to...
And before this, he had also had accusations of non-consensual attacks on girls around. As the legal process began, the community of Ngorongo was left grappling with truth more frightening than any stranger danger narrative. The killer had not come from far away. He had lived amongst them. He had walked their roads, shared their spaces, and earned their trust. Statistics would later echo that this case had already proven in blood. Femicide is most often committed by someone close to the victim. To Rosemary's family, grief was compounded by unanswered questions. Her mother recounted the pain of learning that the friend Rosemary intended to visit had cancelled plans while Rosemary was already on her way. Somewhere between the cancelled meeting and the coffee plantation Karibaribi, her daughter's life had been stolen. Her boyfriend, once considered a person of interest by police, was eventually cleared. He identified Rosemary's recovered phone for detectives, confirming what her mother already believed, that he had nothing to do with her death. For Hellen's family, the pain was sharpened by proximity. Her body was found just meters from home. The danger had been close enough to touch. Her mother described Hellen as God-fearing, introverted, and gentle, a young woman whose life revolved around school, home, and faith. That such a life could be ended so brutally left scars that words could not cover. Across Kiambu County and beyond, Kenyans reacted with outrage and sorrow. Social media filled with tributes, anger, and demands for justice. Residents called for increased security, better protection for women, and faster response to missing persons reports. Many questioned the delays, the procedures, and the system that so often moves slower than violence itself. The image that lingered most was not of the crime scene but of the funerals, of a man mourning the women he killed, of hands that dug graves after taking lives, of evil that did not look monstrous until it was unmasked. As the court process continues, the story of Rosemary and Hellen stands as more than a criminal case. It is a warning etched into the soul of coffee plantations and the silence of unanswered phones, a reminder that danger often wears a familiar face, and a demand, loud and avoidable, that justice must be relentless because the cost of looking away is written in graves dug by the very hands that caused them.